peace and blessings. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the sanctuary. I am Jovhannah, the spiritual love healer, and this is Sunday in the sanctuary where we talk about something. Today we're talking about honesty, being honest with yourself, and how that is actually what leads to healing, right? So let's just take a minute to just center and calm and clear our energy, because I know I'm like feeling very energetic, so I just want to kind of settle in and just clear myself. Just taking a few deep breaths. All right, so let's talk about honesty, being honest with ourselves. And that can be one of the most challenging things to do, because often when we are growing up, we are taught that who we are intrinsically is not good, and sometimes it's not safe for you to be yourself, right? So when we are not able to be authentic, be who we truly are, we then start to learn to mask ourselves, right? And I'm talking about as children. And this even happens when we go into a new workplace. You start to understand the lay of the land, who you can really talk to and be yourself with, and who you have to be more reserved and polished with, right? So we learn how to navigate spaces based on who we know it's safe to show up as. And so what happens when we come home and we take off the mask, we take off the friendship mask, we take off the coworker, the employee mask, we take off all of the labels and the masks that have been applied to us externally, and then it's who are we sitting there with? The things that I can say to myself, and when I know I'm in safe spaces, I know that I probably couldn't tell most people, because a lot of people wouldn't understand, they wouldn't get it, they would take it wrong, misinterpret it. So it's everything is a trigger warning, right? We see trigger warning all the time now. That's the new thing. It's trigger warning about this or trigger warning about that. And it's okay, if I say this, then we have to think, who is this hurting? Is this hurting someone? If I say this, is somebody gonna take it this way or that way? And so we start to filter the filter with even more filters. And then it's either you're afraid to speak your truth, or you don't even know what it is, because you've been, wearing these masks or filling these roles where you just can't be you. And this is why I said that, I think that what I said in stories was honesty is what leads to healing. We live in a world, and most of us were probably raised in a world where it was not safe to say what we really thought. When you wanted to be F you, you had to be oh, okay, I understand. And it's no, I don't understand, but you cannot say that. We even see instances where people are interacting with law enforcement, and it's not safe to say anything. So it's how can we be ourselves if it's not safe to be ourselves, right? Part of that comes from unpacking, right, the unsafety of it all, and feeling out, am I being honest with myself? Because there are some times and some spaces where we do have to play certain roles and live accordingly and operate within whatever rules or parameters exist. But at the end of the day, if you're not doing some sort of checks and balances with yourself, what are you doing and what are you really believing about yourself, right? So let's say work, right? Everybody's had to work a job that maybe they did not love. I know I've held plenty. But let's say you're at work and you know, there's a project that you got to work on or somebody you got to work with, and you're just oh my God, Like, you know, in that moment that you can't just go up in there and be like, I hate this, I hate you, this is some BS, I'm not finna do this, like, whatever. Like, you know, you can't just do that. That is highly unacceptable in that setting. But when you go home, are you allowing yourself to, like, express that in some way? And I'm not saying, like, you have to call and vent to anyone, but what are you doing to unpack the stuff that we have to compress or play pretend about in your life, right? When we're not able to be honest about the fact that I really hate this job, it is driving me bananas, it is unfulfilling, it's stressful. Like, if we're not honest with ourselves about that, then it's like you continue to show up for work every day, and it's like, oh my God, there are no other options. I just really hate it here, and I'm going to continue to hate it here because there are no other options. When in reality, there are other options, but maybe we're not able to, maybe we're not able to explore them or tap into them because we've trained our mind to believe like this is it. Like, every day I got to go to a place that I hate. Every day I have to go to a place where I can't be my true authentic self because I'm not going to be accepted, when in reality there are other options. And I know nowadays things might be a little different, but generally speaking, there are other options. And so when we start to be honest with ourselves about how we show up in the world, why do I feel like I can't be myself when I go to certain places? Or why do I feel like I'm not a part of, you know, whatever the case may be? I'm not a part of the crowd. I don't fit in. Like, why do you feel these things? What is it that you feel is telling you that it's not okay for you to take up space as you are in this moment, in any space that you are in? Like, where is that coming from? And so when we can start to be honest about where we are in life, how we feel about ourselves, our life, our situations and circumstances, the things that we are telling ourselves and other people about life, our relationships, and everything in between, that's where, like, that self-reflection can begin. And it's not easy being honest with ourselves. It's not easy to look in the mirror and be like, who the fuck are you? And how did you get here? Because this wasn't really the plan for me. I thought I was a little different. And it's like, no, like, you literally have to look in the mirror and have a conversation with yourself, have a conversation with your soul, your heart, your spirit. I remember when I wouldn't look in mirrors for a long time. I did not like what I saw. And it wasn't like physically, like, girl, you're ugly, like, stay away from the mirror, you're gonna break it. It was like, it was like I was looking at an empty shell. And this was a time when I was going through the worst, dealing with depression and anxiety, having left an abusive relationship, and everything just was like a shitstorm. And one day I just stopped, and I would do this like daily, and I would just stare at myself in the mirror, and I would just look at myself, and like, it was like I did not know who I was looking at. And I had to be honest and was like, I am disconnected from myself. How did this happen? Then I'm able to look back and I'm like, okay, well, I went through this experience and then this happened. Okay. Like, I'm not okay. Something is wrong here. And it's because I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know who I was. I was in my early to mid 20s. And it's like, you know, your parents, they teach you one thing, right? You're supposed to do this, and this is the path. And if you get off that path, then now, you know, your parents are looking at you sideways like, well, hands off, like, you're grown now, you figure it out. And so it's like all the hats that I was given to wear were no longer fitting. I didn't know who I was because my entire life somebody was trying to tell me who I could and should be, whether it was family, parents, teachers, friends, society, the media, whatever. Everybody was telling me who I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to do, bosses, jobs, whatever, except for me. And so it's like, we continually try to live up to someone else's expectations, and that's not healthy, and it's not sustainable, because inside your soul, your spirit is telling you like, hey, listen to me. All this stuff feels bad because it's not for you. You're feeling disconnected from yourself because you don't know me anymore. So that's where the healing begins. You start to realize like, wow, this whole construct that I was taught about who I'm supposed to be, about what life is, the path that my life is supposed to take, like all of these different things, it don't fit. So now we're looking at all these different pieces of a puzzle, but each piece is from a different puzzle box. You will never be able to put a puzzle together using different pieces from different boxes. That's just not how it was made. So you have to go back and retrieve the pieces and the parts of you, like reclaiming yourself, so that you can bring that picture back into like the full frame. So now you've got all the pieces, now you can see the whole picture. But we can't do that if we're constantly living out of alignment, out of step with ourselves, if we're living a lie, because we're not, and not saying like, you're hiding, you're living in deception, but that too. But if you are living a lie in the sense that you're not being true to who you are, and true to what you're supposed to be doing in life, true to what feels good and right for you, why is that not stopping? Okay, sorry. But honesty is where healing begins. And usually, like, every time somebody asks me, well, what would you say to somebody who, wanted to begin their healing journey? It starts with awareness. Awareness that there's a problem that needs addressing is the first step. If you cannot help someone that's not aware that they have a problem. That's why a lot of times interventions go bad, because you're trying to pigeonhole somebody into a corner saying you got a problem, but they don't think they have a problem. And that usually causes more chaos than it does help, especially if they're not even willing to listen, because now it's like 6 of y'all telling me I'm fucked up in the game and I thought I was okay, so I'm on edge now. So it's just being mindful and aware, and that's so hard to do in today's society because we are constantly connected to something. The internet, work, our phones, social media, notifications, a barrage of information is constantly streaming to us at all times, right? And because there are so many ways to be distracted, it is very easy to be like, I feel like I want to cry. I feel like, there's something bubbling under the surface. Let me turn on Netflix and go get some popcorn. I'm gonna just lay down and watch Olivia Pope or somebody, and I'm not even gonna pretend. It is so easy to like push that stuff down and just decide, I'm gonna go over here and just veg out. I'm gonna go do whatever else I can do to not pay attention to what's happening inside of me. And so long of stuffing that stuff down, like we can become numb and think like everything's okay because on the outside everything is all put together, we're functioning, but on the inside there is a storm brewing. There's a storm brewing because there are layers upon layers upon layers of things that we have not dealt with, because we're not being real with ourselves about how we feel, about who we want to be, where we want to be, how we want to do it. And that's why I believe so many of us right now have been, and not even counting the fact that everything outside in the outside world is just wild, right? So there's that on top of that, on top of everything else. And more people are like coming to the realization that there are things internally that need to be dealt with. And I'm grateful for that. But again, we can get to that place without having to be broken, without having to have that last straw fall upon the camel's back, and then it's just like breakdown in order to get to the breakthrough. I think often we have signposts that we ignore, like the feeling of frustration about a job. Like if every time you go in there you just want to slap the first person that you see, that is a sign. Okay, it's not a sign to slap nobody, but it's a sign telling you like your spirit is disturbed being in this place. The last job that I held in corporate America was, it was soul sucking. Like, I am grateful that I don't have to work in corporate America. I don't know what I would do if that was like the only option for me. I mean, I have a contingency plan, but I'm just saying. But I would have to like bring in elements to cultivate my space. Like, I had a spray bottle of like this like energy cleansing spray. I wouldn't bring in my crystals because, you know, people be stealing, and that's not a problem that anybody wanted. So I would collect like sticks and rocks outside, and one of the things that I would do was go for walks every day on my lunch. I didn't care if it was raining, if it was hot, if it was cold. I had to go outside. Like, that was the one thing that helped me maintain my peace, to clear my energy and bring myself back into balance so I could get through the day. And it wasn't the work. The work that I did was very easy. I enjoyed it. It was simple, but it was the people and the environment and the atmosphere that was murky. And so I knew that it was time. Like, I knew like, okay, this is not going to be sustainable. Like, I need an out. And that's when I really started developing my business and things like that, and was able to eventually transition out of that space. But what happens when we don't take the hint, when we don't move inspiredly? Yeah, okay, I understand. Peace, sister. If we don't bow out, we will get pushed out. We will get kicked out. The universe will be like, I done told you 50,000 times in the past 3 months. You wanted signs, I sent the signs. You was stressed out, you was worried, you was frustrated, you was ready to fight, you was crying at night, you couldn't sleep. Those were signs. But you didn't listen, so now you're going to get fired, okay? So it's like different things that come up, and we think that a sign is going to be like some big angels singing, lights, sparkles, and feathers no. Sometimes it's the frustration that you feel. Sometimes it's the fact that you keep missing your alarm and waking up late in the morning telling you that's not somewhere you need to be going. But we don't recognize those things because we're so in our minds, like we cannot recognize it. And then there's the fear, because we're taught that you go to school, you get a job, you work until you retire. That model died a very long time ago. I remember, was it 2007 to like 2012, 13, when like everything, the market crashed. Like, I was laid off at least 6 times in that time span. I knew then that working for someone else was not my path. I knew it then. And I have a very like there's a timer on my job. Like, I can feel like, okay, this is okay, it's time. But we stay in places too long because we're not in tune with ourselves, and we are not being real with what it is that we need, whether it is something like a job. I don't know why I keep using that as an excuse. Maybe it's a message in there for somebody. But, you know, if you know you are not healthy, why are you not working out? The sign is the distress that you feel in your body. The sign is the lack of movement, the fatigue, the heaviness, the signs of unwellness. That is your sign. Like, we're not paying attention to the signs. And sometimes they are the everyday thing. Like the pain in your back is a sign. What is that telling you? And why are we not tuning in? Like, okay, I don't feel okay. Why don't I feel okay? Like, what can we do about this? Who do I need to see? Who do I need to talk to? How can I fix this? But instead we are, you know, taught to just work through it, right? To oh, don't worry about that. That's not a sign, because it didn't come from whatever book, right? It's not part of this particular belief system or religion, so that's not a sign. You just need to buck up and grin it, stop being so stressed out, and just go to work. And I think that, again, honesty, it goes such a long way. And being real with ourselves as parents, as teachers, as guides, as women, as men, as people, as humans, will do us all some good. So if you have been feeling stuck in any particular area of your life, I invite you to examine it, to be honest with yourself. You can literally go have a conversation in a mirror and be like, self, like, what's going on? And sometimes just spending time looking at yourself in the mirror, like, you don't even need to say anything. You will instinctively know what's up with you. You will know. And so I invite you to do that, especially if you don't ever look at yourself unless you are like done up head to toe, or you're just not one to like be in the mirror. Stop, stand, and look directly eye to eye at yourself in the mirror and be real about what you see. Be real about what you hear. Be real about what you're saying to yourself and why you're saying these things. Because it's you'll start to notice, like, okay, this is something that I need to work on. This is something that I need to heal. This is an area that I can strengthen. This is something that I can release. And that's where you start to see change and growth and healing within yourself. And that's why we are all here, to heal, to grow, and to elevate ourselves, to be better individuals. So I hope that this message has touched on you in some way. I am sending you an abundance of love this week. Click the link in my bio. I have readings and healing sessions available if you are in need of some spiritual guidance and support. I'm sending you an abundance of love and look forward to chatting with you more. Thank you for tuning in to the sanctuary. Let's all have a beautiful week ahead. Peace.